This episode of the GSE podcast is brought to you by Fort Brand, not your everyday GSE provider. We go beyond belt loaders and bag tractors, offering towbarless pushbacks, de-icers, and airport maintenance equipment, all available on demand across North America and the UK. Whether you need electric units to support your ESG goals or traditional equipment for today's ramp, Fort Brand delivers flexible leasing with the option of full-service maintenance to keep your fleet at peak performance. When you partner with Fort Brand, you get more than equipment. You get expertise, reliability, and a commitment to keeping your operation running smoothly. Visit fortbrand.com to learn more.
This is Patrick Dennison.
This is Jake Klein.
This is Daniel Burtis.
My name is Dean Swabish, and you're listening to the GSE Podcast.
All right. Well, welcome to the GSE Podcast. I am here at Malahan's facility in Noonan, Georgia, and I am with ASAK Solutions. Arnold Sue from ASAK Solutions. Arnold is the CEO and co-founder of ASAK Solutions. And Arnold, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt.
Not a problem, man. So excited to have you on. We've known each other for quite a while and just kind of want to dive into, what ASAK does, how they are a ground handler out of JFK, and kind of how you've kind of grown this business. And from what I understand, have a great reputation inside of our GSE business. So why don't you kind of kick it off and kind of tell me a little bit about yourself and what was your road to co-founding ASAK?
Well, thanks for having me again, Matt. Appreciate the time. But yeah, so I'm Arnold Sue, CEO, co-founder of ASAK Solutions, known as ASAK throughout the industry, headquartered in JFK. I'm a JFK native, so been in JFK. This is 18 years. So September actually made 18 years for us there, for me, myself. Started off at aviation high school. So I went to aviation high school for aviation maintenance, did all 5 years of the program, got my A&P license, and never used it. So shortly after I graduated high school, just excited to be around aircraft. Following graduation, I joined the military, Air Force, or the Air National Guard, and simultaneously went to JFK Airport for my first job. So I got the first airport ID, which felt like a big deal, right? Right out of high school, got the first airport ID, and I went to work for Evergreen. So I was with Evergreen Eagle. Wasn't easy juggling the military and a civilian job, but JFK, was always there to support anytime I came back home from being deployed, training trips, etc. So that's how I ended up in the airport.
So where all were you deployed at?
So I was in Afghanistan, I was in UAE, and I was in Qatar. So I had 3 overseas tours.
Wow. And you're still in the military?
Yep. So I'm still in the military. So also 18 years. So 2 more years to go. I see the light. It's close to the end of the tunnel.
That's incredible, man. So how did the idea for ASAK come about?
So we're working with Evergreen. We transitioned to some other large ground handlers. I transitioned with them as they took over the business model in the airport. I was originally working the UPS account, and a ground handler came along, replaced Evergreen Eagle. Another ground handler came along and replaced, where we are today. So I used to actually work prior to NATO.
Oh, okay. And so you just saw an opening for a ground handling business based out of JFK?
Well, no. So, we're working side by side with leadership, close friends that taught me a lot in the business, truly used my A&P background to make my way and navigate through the airport. I was working on GSE when nothing was going on with the part-time work that was at the UPS account, painting dollies, changing casters. I am a certified welder with the military. So I started welding, doing a little bit of fabrication. Then I kind of became the TDY guy, went out, set up some stations, openings, fixing equipment, things like that, all around the country for the company I was working for.
That's amazing. So you can also work on the GSE if you needed to.
Yeah, although I never worked on an aircraft, I think the discipline definitely comes from that background. If you can wrench, you can wrench, without a doubt.
Okay, and then your co-founder is Alminco.
Yes, Alminco is the co-founder. First turned, friends, neighborhood friends. We worked in the airport together. He actually came to the UPS account, and we just worked together throughout the time. Grew a closer bond. Our friendship definitely grew, obviously, when you work with someone day in and day out.
And so you started ASAK Solutions in what year with him?
So we formed the company in 2017. we began filing for our permit and our privilege permit in JFK Airport. We got approved in 2019, right before COVID.
Okay. So you're on the airport, and do you have a maintenance facility on the airport?
Well, today we do have a maintenance area on the airport. Man, we have one off the airport, about a half a mile off the airport. So off airport property.
Okay. And in those maintenance facilities, you're working on GSE.
Yes, they're both GSE facilities. The one off the airport focus on non-motorized painting, welding, any heavy maintenance, engine swap, conversions, anything like that. On the airport, we're kind of reactive to our current business model.
Okay. What about your ground handling business?
So in 2022, we were awarded a permit, Terminal 7, JFK, us and another ground handler. So today, we handle all the wide-body aircraft at that terminal. Ground handling on the passenger side is about 65% of our business. So that includes below the wing, above the wing, passenger service, cabin cleaning, bag room operation, aircraft ancillary service, everything that entails turning that aircraft. That's what we focus on and that model.
Wow. So you're full service.
Full service, yeah. Full service, but GSE has a special spot. Of course, you're only as successful as the equipment and labor. Manpower is important in our work.
For sure. And then I didn't know this, but I think I overheard you saying something today where you all are also in Chicago as well. Is that true?
Yeah, we have some cargo operations that we do there. Nothing pertaining to an aircraft, just cargo CFS work. So the other 35% of our business model comprises of cargo, import, export. We do some e-commerce work, fumigation. We're the only on-airport fumigation facility that we know of, at least on the East Coast. And I believe it's throughout the country. We also do some niche work with the ARC at JFK. We handle their equine trucking. So they load out the horses in the stalls. We drive the trucks to and from the aircraft. So we have a couple of interesting lines of business, unique for sure. And I think that's what sets us ahead.
I didn't realize that there was horses getting on airplanes.
Yeah, there's tons of horses. So
really?
Last year, over 6,000 horses came in and out of that building. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So I'm guessing just for the tracks around the area and things like that.
You'd be surprised. Different, breeding. People just do travel with horses. They move horses around by season. International travel is huge, but we do support a lot of the local brokers and the shows that they support. We have the Launches show that just passed. That was in Liberty State Park. In the prior years before the construction of Belmont Park, we used to work with the horse races there. So I would say it's a fair amount of horses that support shows and et cetera, but a lot of it still supports people moving around horses. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's super interesting. I never thought that'd be bringing up horses on the GSE podcast, but here we are.
I'll tell you what, if you looked at a horse operation and if you looked at behind the building to see what happens behind the scenes,
mm-hmm.
We're outfitted with an import and export quarantine facility. And behind the building, actually, if we didn't have this kind of background, we have integrated scales and a static rack. And we put the horse stall, which is a ULD, and we put it on top of the scale. And the only way to get it on top of the scale is by using a K loader. So we actually use a Commander 30 and a Commander 15. So who would have thought, right? It all comes full circle.
Wow, that is incredible. I would have never guessed that the equipment's being used for that, but it totally makes makes a lot of sense.
Innovative for sure, right?
Yeah.
You integrate scales in the legs of a static rack and use a regular LD7 lock to hold the ULD in place. It's thinking outside the box, but it makes the operation efficient. Definitely one of a kind. We visited facilities that are similar in other countries, and what we have, I think, is truly unique.
Yeah, how'd you even get involved in something like that?
So
and the know-how to be able to do that.
I got introduced to the gentleman who owned the ARC. It is a private facility.
Okay.
And I actually sold him his first K loader. So I sold him a first Commander 15. We were doing some rehab on used equipment when we first started ASAK in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And we got introduced to the person who owns the ARC. And that's right when his facility opened up. And he too started with one truck, one trailer. And he came to us and said, "Hey, I need a loader. I need a K loader to get this from my truck onto the scale, if you would,
mm-hmm.
or onto his ramp that puts the import for the horses." So we went out, saw the operation, and for him, he's looking at it as from a real estate perspective and from a horse perspective. But the integral parts of the operation comes from a ramp background. Simple. Put a K loader there. We get it done. Put a K loader.
There you go.
So we started working with him on. Later on, the relationship grew, and it is what it is today. I mean, their volume also increased significantly at the ARC. That's what we call home. Today, our offices are headquartered upstairs on their second floor. Our warehouse is a part of the building, and we share a lot of facilities that we share together today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with me. That's a really cool story. I like that. We always do a GSE story. I think that's a pretty good GSE story, but maybe you'll have a better one at the end. But that was a really good one. So let's talk a little bit about ground sport equipment. It is a GSE podcast after all. So how do you all determine, what you're going to buy when it pertains to ground sport equipment? I think I know a little bit about, what you all do, and I know you all lean towards electric. Is that true?
Well, today that's the model now and for the future. In the past, a ground handler's model comes from being able to cross-utilize equipment. That's no secret sauce. That's just basically where the performer lays. And I think that in the future of what we have now, especially with the Terminal 6, I know you're going to bring it up, but with the Terminal 6, it's all the GSE pooling idea that's come into play in JFK in both of the new terminals, the new Terminal 1 and Terminal 6. So I think that the performer is going to change greatly for the model of a ground handler. Traditionally, you'd have your performer equipment and labor, and moving forward, it's going to be about labor.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, especially with Terminal 6, as you said, we have a podcast coming out about that. ASAK is one of the ground handlers that'll be involved in that project. And as some of our listeners know, T6 has been awarded to Fort Brand, and we will be providing the equipment. ASAK will be one of the ground handlers there, and you'll be doing the maintenance as well on the equipment. Is that correct?
Yeah, Fort Brand reached out. We have the facilities, the labor. Of course, we have the maintenance technicians and a vision of what a future maintenance technician in the airport should look like. Shared that mixed with the Fort Brand sauce, innovation, and expertise. I think we have outstanding product that we offer at Terminal 6, and happy to be here for the future. I mean, it's truly what the next ground handling model will be, and equipment model without a doubt.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I was just talking to the CEO of JMP, and he was saying how happy he is with ASAK, and I know that Fort Brand is as well. We're really excited to expand our relationship with ASAK. So right now with your operations, I think you're using a lot of Tiger GSE. Is that right? The electric bag tractor?
Yeah. When we started the contract in 2022, we sought out and we wanted to use infrastructure is always an issue. We all know that. With knowing what the future held for the current terminal we operate, we went out and we decided, hey, how can we start a green initiative? I mean, we actually launched a green initiative. We went out to the GSE Expo and we said, we're not leaving the expo without issuing a purchase order. We liked what we saw with the Taylor Done Wave product. We bought some conversion kits. We bought some brand new tractors. To date, we have a lot of them in play right now. About 90% of our baggage tractors are electric, and they are all Wave. And we like the product. Really, it's a learning curve, but it does offer a lot of safety features. And I think that the operators came around to realize it's really not that bad.
Yeah, and so you've been converting MA50s as well using the Tiger conversion kits?
Yeah, we used the MA30, MA50 body chassis, and we retrofit. It was a simple kit. When you have the labor that's there available to you, it's really not a hard task.
So what went into making these ground support equipment decisions on who you were going to purchase?
Reliability and support. They go hand in hand. If a company or if an OEM is there to support you, you most likely will lean that way as an end user. Being able to pick the phone up and call somebody that can have an answer. And at the end of the day, you only buy so much extras, and it really affects the performer for every dollar you spend on an expense. The return on investment is truly a relationship. Be able to pick the phone up, get support when you need it, or at least have an answer. 72 hours is our policy to have a piece of equipment out of service. And if you don't live by that, you start losing revenue pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. And so you brought on Phil Bouvet at some point. What year was that?
Phil came on in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's been there a couple of years.
Yeah, Phil came on. So we worked together for a long time. Phil, we worked with our past ground handler together. Phil took a break from the industry. We remained friends. We go down. I visit him down in Florida in his retired life. He looked pretty bored. So I figured I would not go out and get Phil. So Phil's back. No longer grumpy. I'm proud to say that. And I know he's going to listen to this and laugh. But yeah, he's back on the team. His expertise definitely helping us move forward to the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that guy knows a ton about ground support equipment. He's been doing it almost his entire career. So he was a great hire, I bet.
Yeah. And it's all brand new stuff. I mean, you can have 35 years in this business, innovation, technology, equipment's changing all around you. Where we're sitting today, everything's changing around us. Nothing's the same. The chassis may be the same, but the operating theory behind it, the safety that's embedded, and the technology with telematics now, it's a whole new piece of equipment. So it may look the same, operator can tell us different. And I think that the customers at the end of the day, the passengers in the aircraft they can feel safe when they get in the aircraft loaded and departing.
Yeah. So what's going to end up happening to the equipment that you have right now at Terminal 7 once Terminal 7 closes and then now you're a T6?
Well, that's not only the goal for us to be the premier ground handler at Terminal 6 amongst our peers, but we're looking for other operations that we want to go into. We're in active RFPs at other operating terminals at JFK. Not all the terminals are doing a GSE pooling operation right now or an electric GSE pooling operation. But we're looking outside the airport. There's definitely some things that are grabbing our attention outside of America, South America, Caribbean islands. We're looking to see how we could repurpose that equipment, maybe convert some, but maybe shift to areas that have some infrastructure problems that can't meet the requirements to charge the equipment.
So where do you see the future of ASAK going? Is it going to grow outside of JFK and your Chicago operation then?
Without a doubt. I believe that when everyone sees what we have to display, we're truly preparing ourselves the right way for Terminal 6. And it'll be a showcase. It'll be a showcase for the world to see. USA for sure. America has to come and see what we have going on. It's making some waves, and I think that the rest of the country will follow. Major airports for sure that have congestion and real estate issues, challenges rather, not issues. They'll see what we have to offer.
Yeah, it's fantastic that, your ground handler is going to be on the forefront of this new initiative of pooling. And you will be one of the few ground handlers in the U.S. that have any kind of experience with it.
Well, I think it's communal. I think all of the end users, the feedback is valuable. Of course, we won't be the only one. There's 2 brand new terminals, both have pooling, both have electric equipment. But I think that we have to treat it like community. Any airport is truly a community. If we look at the other ground handlers like the competition, we won't survive this industry. We have to work together to get the job done, for sure.
Yeah. So what do you think the difference between ASAK and other ground handlers are?
I would say attention to detail. We really pay attention to what matters to the customer. Being a smaller company in a large airport gives us the ability to make those decisions rather quickly. If a customer wants something specific, if they have an issue, if they have a recommendation, it doesn't always have to be bad. They have a recommendation that can truly improve the operation. We're there to make that decision rather quickly versus larger companies who have to go through those loopholes to get a change.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What does the future of GSE look like in your opinion?
I think it starts with the technicians. I think that the manufacturers will continue to kick out these products that are innovative, smart, great design. But if we don't have the technicians to truly follow up with that manufacturing process, I think the future of GSE is going to it would be nowhere, right? You have to have maintenance done. So I think we need to look to see how we can encourage the younger generations to be interested in wrenching, turning a wrench, troubleshooting. And I think that's more geared, eGSE is more geared towards the younger crowd where they can plug in a laptop, do some diagnosis along with the help and assistance from an OEM. And they'll be able to troubleshoot and work with the older generations to say, hey, this is how we can figure out this problem, right? The gen set's really what changed, but everything else still kind of remains the same, right? The hydraulics, you still have some of those traditional components. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you're going to phase out the older mechanics and technicians, but I think, including the younger generation and what we have today, it's definitely going to be an asset.
Is it harder and harder to find good technicians?
Oh yeah, you're competing with airlines for sure. They have all the added benefits. Pay rates in a big city is a big difference. You have city, municipal jobs. So it's hard, but you can be creative. You can look outside of the local talent pool to see how I can find people with talent or qualifications.
Mm-hmm. What else is going on with the Terminal 6 project? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you see this as other airports are going to be heading towards this, or do you think this is going to be just a specific JFK thing? Like, what is your opinion on that?
No, I think throughout my experience in the industry, I think everyone's talked about this. It's spoken about before. For sure, West Coast has thought about it, Dallas, areas like that. Large airports definitely thought about it. They wanted to do it. I think the time wasn't right because of technology. Now with telematics, it enables us to move forward with something like this. And we can display that anywhere, right? I mean, you can put it up on the screen, visiting another airport and show them what's going on live. There's all kind of 4D, there's different platforms that you can display what's going on in the airfield. It doesn't have to be live cameras or anything like that. There's a lot of data there. It's how we extract it and what we choose to do with that.
Yeah, I think telematics is a huge part of this pooling thing. It wouldn't be possible without it, really, because you wouldn't know how to utilize that equipment properly.
Yeah, It's very easy to say that it's going to work, but sometimes you have to add layers of labor to make things like this work. I think telematics eliminates that, and being able to include the status of a battery, status of a piece of equipment, maintenance, and you be able to track all of that with telematics, different OEMs being able to tie into each other. It's really a home run.
How will ASAK ensure that this T6 launch is as smooth as possible?
Well, we have a live lab today, right? That's a difference. We're not a brand new organization with a brand new company who's doing GSE. We have a lot of experience. We have a live lab today to test things out, test the software out, test the hardware out. End users can give feedback. So I think that's important to continue to exercise this equipment and go through the movements and the routine use of it rather than wait until the day the operation starts to see if it works or not. Being able to do that today and until Terminal 6 opens, every day that goes by is important.
Are your operators excited about all the brand new electric equipment and brand new equipment just in general?
Well, I think it raises an eyebrow, right? You say certain words to an operator like safety, their eyebrow raises up. It's not that they're not safe, but when they know something's watching it, it's a different story. It's different when you have an operations manager or two walking around, being, let's say, police officers. But now if everyone's responsible for their own actions with user access, with access control, rather, I think it makes a user interested in what's going to happen in the future.
Will ASAK be doing training with their operators to help them understand, how all this telematics stuff is going to work and what actually kind of data you are going to be pulling and all that kind of stuff?
No, I don't think it's necessary. I think nothing changes with the operation of the equipment. In our formal training, on our onboarding and our routine training, those rules would be applied and programmed into the telematics, and it's just going to monitor what they do. We're not looking to put anybody's jobs in jeopardy here, but again, it's to more reinforce safety, reinforce procedure, and put the standard operating procedures that you put in place, make sure that they're being followed.
Yeah, because you already have all these procedures already in place today. It's just that now you'll be able to actually visually see them on a dashboard.
We'll be able to reward the employees who follow the program, right? We'll be able to say, hey, there's an incentive. This is a good thing. You are following the rules. You're turning the aircraft safely. This is what you get employed for, right? This is what we're here to do. We're here to make sure that the aircraft goes out safe and on time. And I think this is reinforcing that.
That's a great idea to incentivize them, right? Rather than make it be a bad thing, right? It's make it a great thing.
The cop never pulls you over and say you're doing a good job driving, right?
Yeah.
This is a good time to be able to do that. This is the reverse psychology of it. And if we instill that in our labor and our manpower, I don't think anybody will say something's wrong with that. They're really happy. They'll be happy that they finally, somebody's seeing what they're doing every day, paying attention to it. AI plays a good, big role in it as well. This interior facing cameras, front facing cameras, and those items, all reinforce that.
And it'll make those operators, proud, and they can tell their friends and their family, oh, I just got this incentive because I did my job well. I'm good at what I do.
Yeah. Something to take home for sure. This is making it public, making sure that everybody understands that people are doing the right thing, that the labor force is doing the right thing.
So you kind of growing up at JFK, right? I mean, kind of your entire career started at JFK. Do you think that's kind of helped you with what you just kind of described to me about incentivizing these people, starting from kind of the bottom at JFK? Is that kind of what helped you think, be who you are today?
It certainly helps, without a doubt. I understand the operation. I still exercise my skill. My skill set's sharp. We go out every day, Alminko and I. We can work in aircraft if we chose to. We have all the qualifications. We still push aircraft. We still tow aircraft. K-loader, tug, belt loader. We understand what it means to be an operator. So, supporting the employees the way they need to be supported, making sure they have the right tools available to them. It's important to us. We go out there, we run a piece of equipment. We find something wrong with it. We fix it, but we understand why something's wrong with it or what the operator is conveying to the maintenance team.
So you're very involved in the day-to-day.
No, I would like to say yes. It's fun for sure. I find myself, it's harder to get out there, but when I do, I enjoy it. Some days it's nice to put the boots on and put the vest and go out there and work next to your employees for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you've been in those people's shoes, right?
Yeah, it's a team, right? There's a team members at the end of the day. And I think I could go to a break room and we could shoot it. We could hang out and talk about it all day long. And, we share some of those common stories. It's like, it's a battle buddy. Let's say that, right? You go out there and you're able to relate. And I think when they see that you can operate a piece of equipment or work just like them, I think that's a different engagement that you have with your employee, different relationship for sure.
Who gets to push the first aircraft back at T6?
It ain't going to be me.
It's not. I want to be there for it. I already told Jared, our CEO, I was like, I got to be there for day one. I got to see this thing. I got to see this thing happen. They're not going to let me run and operate a pushback, though. I can guarantee you that.
No, the equipment's starting to arrive already. So we took delivery of our first 2 pieces of equipment for Terminal 6 at JFK. It's in our possession now. And as we start to stage equipment that's coming in from the OEMs, we'll ensure that it's working and it's running properly, charged, all the access control works, the telematics work. And again, that's all part of being prepared. We're certainly a little ways away from the project beginning, the first quarter of next year. But I would say that Ford brand was definitely proactive in receiving the equipment rather sooner than later.
Can you already start to see the structure? I mean, is it far enough along where you can see where the chargers are and all that kind of stuff, or are we not there yet?
No, so it's hard to get walkthroughs in the area. It is an active construction site.
Okay.
But, the building is sealed for the first phase. They're working on interior finish. Walking the outside of the field, it's kind of hard. It's an active construction field, but, there's active aprons today that they have there, aircraft parked there that operate at Terminal 7.
Mm-hmm.
They use it as a remote parking spot. So it is pretty cool to say the word T6 actively in everyday operation. I hear it all the time, right? It's pretty crazy to hear the word Terminal 6, T6 parking, T6 hard stand. It's pretty cool.
So can you tell us what those 2 pieces of equipment were that have arrived?
Yeah, we received the 2 B950s full electric from Oshkosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's only a few of those. I think there's about maybe a dozen in the entire world, I think.
Well, I took delivery of both. And
Okay.
I tell you what, driving them around the parking lot to get them to where I wanted to stage them, it was truly interesting not hearing the engine.
Yeah.
It was interesting for sure. So that was an eye-opener. And of course, it was a big deal for us. I took a lot of pictures of that, and we'll send some pictures out for sure to show that we started the process.
Yeah, I got to drive one of the electric B950s. It's so smooth. It's so nice. And electric pushbacks to me just makes sense.
I actually called Christian when I accepted the second one. It was on a Sunday, and I called and I praised him for the unit. So
yeah, it's a good looking unit, and like you said, it's super quiet. It's really strange to be driving a pushback and there's no noise whatsoever.
Yeah, I got to say I'm excited to take delivery of all the different OEMs that are coming in. Truly unbiased. I think that OEMs are doing a great job today, widening their thought process as far as design go. I think you're going to see a lot of similarities from OEM to OEM, but I'm definitely excited to take delivery of everything.
Yeah, well, this has been awesome, man. It's so informative. Like, do you have a good GSE story for us? I mean, it can be about horses again if you want.
No, good. I think the horses is over. I think that I already elaborated enough on the horses.
Are we done with the horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think the best times that I've had growing up in the GSE side and GSE support was parts for GSE has always been a pain point. Getting parts availability, and working in the East Coast. Relatively, everything's kind of close, especially up in Northeast. So, I would say it was most interesting having to drive parts around, right? Think about that. Right? If a station needed a part and you had a part in JFK, the instant reaction was get in a truck and drive it there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my boss would always do that, and he was in control of the region, and that's how he supported his region. If they couldn't get a part, the unit wouldn't sit out of service. We'd go get a part from a different state or a city and take it down to the station that needed it the most. And that was important. Fast forward to today, I think that the commerce world changed a lot when I see a lot more OEMs setting up platforms to support that need, where it's kind of like the Amazon experience, if you would, right? You need a part, maybe some next day action. You never know. That's important, right? Being able to support the product. So driving down to Dulles with tires in the back of a pickup truck to support a pushback that blew a tire on a Saturday evening. Those are stories that you would never forget, having to do that, right? Take a 5-hour trip with 2 pushback tires for a B1200 or a GT110 in the back of a pickup truck. Kind of, those are things that I look at now that I have the power to say, okay, let's make sure we have extras in places. If I ever expanded outside of JFK, and when I do, I think we'll be armed with the right tools to do that.
So, we talked a lot about JFK, but I mean, that's where most of your experience is. I bet you just have a community of people that you've met throughout the years at JFK. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a large airport, but so small. It's truly a community. I never, we talk to people from other airports, from other countries even, and they say, we talk about the airports that we work in, that we call home, and there's so many community functions. We have all of these, we have all these organizations that support the airport. Port authorities, very, very supportive of the stakeholders, engaged every day. There's community calls. And I just don't hear that coming from other airports. The people, just like myself, it's just another uniform. ASAK is another uniform that my troops are putting on. And I would never tell anyone to not think about it like that. It's a changing, forever changing companies. People are buying other people, acquisitions, M&As. And, who knows? Maybe one day I'll be wearing a Fort Brand shirt.
Yeah, well, I never really thought that I'd be wearing a Fort Brand shirt, but here we are. So,
and it creates a relationship, right? You work next to someone, and they go work for another company or start a company, and you're still working in the same airport. It gives you access to support. You can call somebody up and say, "Hey, bud, can you help me out?" And that's how it should be. It should be treated like a community.
Yeah. And I mean, I talk about it all the time on this podcast about the GSE community, but it seems like just hearing you talk today, we've been kind of hanging out, and we did a tour of the Malahan facility, and you've been talking to a bunch of different folks here. It seems like everybody at JFK.
No, it's pretty receptive, right? JFK is receptive, but I would say that even the GSE community was very receptive to ASAK. Even before Phil, they were receptive to ASAK.
Phil, exactly.
Before Phil, they were receptive to ASAK. Maybe they hate me now because of Phil. I never know. But, it was truly receptive. Going to all the shows. The GHI show really turned into a GSE show. But it's good to see everyone. Everybody's out active. Everybody's participating in events, providing feedback. Open forum conversations are excellent. I think it showcases what people are doing in different areas of the industry. So being able to be active, I say we're truly blessed. We worked hard to be where we are today. Sponsoring events and being part of the community is great.
So you'll be heading down, I imagine, to Panama for the GHI, the 2026 GHI.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That'll be a big one for you. You said you're looking to expand kind of into like that Latin America region. Is that a show you're looking forward to?
Yeah, Latin America, South America, and I think a lot of companies who have older equipment, to include GSE providers, that's kind of where they're focusing attention to get some of the older equipment or retrofitted kits out to say, hey, we can support what you have today. And I think it's going to be a go show for everyone. I think we'll all get some new customer base, and I think I'm looking forward to a good time.
Have you been to Panama?
Never. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I went in, I think 2019. They had the GHI Americas there, and we got to go to the Panama Canal, which I was very excited about because I'd always heard about the Panama Canal.
I think Panama needs to be ready.
Be ready for GSE.
Be ready for GSE and some ground handlers rolling in. Be a good time for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Is there anything else that you want to cover today? Do you feel like we've kind of hit all the major points, or is there something else you want to put out about yourself or ASAK?
No, all good. I just, I want everybody to understand that it's communal. It's a communal approach when it comes to the GSE pooling. Open mind. I think it's a communal approach, and I think we came to a point now where I think everybody's realizing that that's real. Permits are being handed out. We're exercising equipment that's going to be used in the future, and it's real. So just look forward to a communal, more communal setting rather than a competitive one.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is we'll plan another podcast, and this is what I'm going to do with JFK Millennium Partners as well, is let's do a follow-up podcast. Maybe June, July, August, something like that, and kind of talk about the struggles that you had with this, or how great it's going, or both, right? Hopefully it's both, and kind of talk about, do a recap of how it went.
I think that you'll be able to get all of the ground handlers that are involved with both terminals on a forum like that. And I think we're all friends. All of the guys, everybody's familiar. Anyone listening to this would definitely know the names.
Yeah.
We'll be able to chat, and I think it'll be a funny one for sure.
Okay. That sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the GSE Podcast. We hope you found it informative and engaging. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with your colleagues and peers in the ground support equipment community. Your support is invaluable to us. We'd appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review our podcast. Your feedback not only encourages us, but also helps expand our reach within the GSE community. Keep an eye out for more episodes as we continue to explore the dynamic world of ground operations, bringing you the latest trends, insights, and stories from the industry. Thank you for listening to the GSE Podcast. Until we meet again, stay grounded and keep pushing forward.